If you've never been to this channel before, what we do here is we play a clip of a famous person describing some of the trials and tribulations that they've gone through to become the famous person that they are, and then we break it down to show how what they're describing is actually following energy law. We believe energy law is influencing every aspect of your life. And on this video series, we're going to show how. Today's guest is going to be Eddie Van Halen, and we're going to be sitting in on a clip of him describing all of the resistances that they had to overcome to become Van Halen, the supergroup.
There's always a certain amount of friction in a band. If you have four members and they all like the identical thing, you're going to have no versatility. You know what I mean? It's like I listened to more progressive music when I did. Alex liked straight ahead rock and roll. Dave was into disco. You know? And no, for real. You know, and together, you know, it made a soup. You know, and what came out of it, you know, it didn't really affect the music, you know, but harmony-wise, song structure, things like that, you know, there were a lot of elements of a lot of things that we all grew up on. But the main reason why I squeezed so many, you know, you call them tricks, call them whatever, techniques out of a guitar, was out of necessity because I couldn't afford the pedals. You know, I couldn't afford a wah-wah pedal, I couldn't afford a fuzz box and all the toys that everybody else had. So I did everything I could to get sounds out of the guitar with my fingers.
Kind of necessity leads to innovation.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah. When no record company wanted anything to do with us, we threw our own gigs. We played backyard parties. We printed our own flyers and went to stuffed lockers at high schools. We played everywhere. Whether you liked us or not, you definitely had heard of us, you know? And we would not let you get away without at least giving, you know, hearing us. And slowly we built an audience of about 3,000 to 5,000 people. Every time we played, we just humped it and humped it and humped it until people came. And I don't see why that wouldn't work today. Warner Brothers eventually came to us because they said, wow, if they can do it here, they can do it anywhere. And that's how it all happened. What got us to getting a record deal is the same thing that made that record succeed, which is we just played everywhere nonstop. We were on the road for 11 months supporting that record. We did 23 gigs in 25 days in England alone. We wouldn't take no for an answer.
So much energy law in here, it's unbelievable. So he starts off explaining that in any band there's friction. Well, friction is resistance, and the friction is caused by all the different styles and influences that each of the different people bring to the group. So if resistance is constant and current increases, potential increases. As long as those differences aren't so debilitating that it tears the group apart, the more they keep practicing, eventually, as current increases, potential difference increases. So those constant resistances of all the different styles that they each wanted to get into the soup, as he says, eventually turn into a new potential as long as they keep practicing and practicing and practicing. That's the first aspect of what he's describing, which is energy law perfect. There's always friction in groups, and either that friction is going to tear it apart or it is going to force something new to manifest. If everyone in the group likes the same thing, like Van Halen, let's say, then the group will inevitably be a pale imitation of Van Halen instead of something original, and that's just how original potentials get established. Resistance isn't all bad. In the beginning, it's the thing that should be motivating your action. The second part of it is amazing. Constant focused energy, massive resistance, massive increased potential. So once they have found their sound, it is about gigging and gigging and gigging. And by gigging, it means literally setting up the stage yourself, arranging for the flyers to be printed, handing out the flyers yourself, all massive resistances that they did for years. People can't appreciate the years that they did this for. To the point where, and there's a great story in one of the documentaries about them, where one of the parties they throw is so big that by the time the police actually get to it to shut it down, they said that they thought the party was 4 blocks back because there were so many people. They were drawing such a huge crowd because after gigging and gigging and gigging, overcoming all of that resistance, their potential keeps increasing to the point where they become the masters of their instruments and their showmanship that everyone knows them to be. At which point, they ascend to the potential constant reality. They leave the action constant reality. They ascend to the potential constant reality, and in the potential constant reality, if current increases, resistance decreases. Once you get to the point where your potential is so established that your ability is undeniable, resistance toward you decreases as well from others. So the potential is established. They keep just humping and humping and humping, like he says, until eventually Warner Brothers comes to them because their ability is undeniable. But then what happens? It's not over then. Then, like he says, the thing that made that album successful, because even once you've got the record deal, and even though people regionally know who you are, the whole world still needs to learn who you are. So then it leads to year after year of touring, which is all massive resistance overcoming again, buses and planes and gigs and problems after problems after problems, and you just hit it and hit it and hit it, constant action, massive resistance, potential increases, and everywhere they go and put on this show eventually translates into album sales. Everything he is describing in this clip as far as their success is energy law. The most important one, though, I think, though, is the necessity of their poverty. He was not going to let their economic situation determine whether he succeeded or failed. Like he said, we don't take no for an answer. If you can't afford the tools, you must become more innovative. And if you're not becoming more innovative, then maybe it's not something that you want as badly as you think. And that's a hard thing for people starting out to accept, is the journey to become Van Halen, the band, was a decade. It took a decade. And that is something that the average person isn't really prepared for when they get these fanciful ideas in their head about things that they think they want to do. Because it's always an endurance run. It takes a long time of constant focused energy and incremental increases of resistance to get the incremental increases in potential that eventually become the talent that you have. People see these people like Eddie Van Halen, they go, oh, he's so talented. The truth is, it is work after work after work. It is practice. At the end of the day, are you engaging in a low resistance activity like watching Netflix, or are you engaging in a high resistance activity like learning a trade, taking an extra course, sitting there with your guitar for years in some cases to find your signature sound? That's the difference between the people that make it and the people that don't. If you'd like to learn more about energy law and how it applies to every aspect of your life, be sure to visit Seniorthinktank.ca. There's all kinds of videos and resources there for you to get on the path of learning about how an expanded understanding of Ohm's law of resistance is actually influencing every aspect of your life. The graphics that you've seen in this video as we're walking through the different phases of energy law are a system that we call Ohm's Wheels of Life. It is a complete philosophical system that uses energy law to translate the experience that we are all having by virtue of being alive. We look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe.